Hello everyone, I'm Tommy and welcome back to Studio Sense. Today we're going to be talking about a nostalgic fragrant fragrance, say that fast 5 times, of mine, and that is Tommy Hilfiger's Tommy. That's right, the OG Tommy, the one that spawned it all. This is Tommy Hilfiger's pillar fragrance, from which a myriad, and I mean a blue ton, not all of them blue, a ton of blankers. That's right, all of these came from the primary pillar fragrance that was crafted in 1995. Tommy Hilfiger original was a brainchild of Annie Buzantian and Alberto Morillas, and they crafted this with all the love and care and primary bright colors and everything that was going on back in 1995. And this fragrance, when you smell it, is very evocative of that era. In 1995, Bill Clinton was the president. You could get a gallon of gas for just over $1. O.J. Simpson pleaded not guilty verdict. And if you turn the radio on, you would hear Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise or Waterfall by TLC. I know you remember that. You smell this, brings all those memories back to mind. Back at the time, it was one of the most unique casual fragrances of its time. Very fresh, very clean. It did spawn many users of the younger generation, so it does have a younger vibe to it. And while the Tommy Hilfiger logo today is quite common and maybe even perhaps a little bit lackluster, back then it was on fire. It was what was happening. Because of that, green apples, high schools, music, and malls, all of those come to mind when you smell this. And I remember it well because about that time that this came out, I came out with this. Yes, that's right. I came out with my own music CD. Don't worry, I didn't sing. It was all music. And as I was traveling to promote this, Tommy was what I was wearing. So let's break down some of the notes in Tommy. In the top, we've got mint, lavender, grapefruit, and bergamot. So very citrusy. In the mid is an unusual 3 accords. It's cranberry, rose, and apple. Finally, in the base, you've got amber, cactus, and cotton flower. Now, I took a photo of the bottom of these so I don't have to hold it up here, so you can see the batch code and then the results at checkfresh.com. Now, let's talk a little bit about reformulation. Now, a lot of people are commenting on forums and just stating in reviews that this has been reformulated. I can't say 100% sure that I know that I can provide evidence of this being reformulated. The chances are very high that it has been reformulated. Pretty sure that it has, because there's no fragrance that was created back in 96 or 95 that hasn't been redone or remade. There is a good likelihood that the new reformulation is a little bit weaker. Manufacturers have dumbed down a lot of the OGs to make them a little bit weaker. That is not uncommon. However, to say that this doesn't smell like the original, you might want to rethink that, because a lot of times we rely on our memories, and our memories can feed us information that is not actually correct. I'm going to put a link in the notes below of an article that I think you should read. I think everyone should, in Scientific American. It's very, very interesting about our memory and how we rely on it, when a lot of times memory can be contaminated by outside forces, your own thoughts, and your internal bias. You ever recall when you go back to a childhood home, so you walk into it and you look around and it seems so much smaller than when you were a child? Because whether you're looking through the eyes of a child or a teenager or a young man or woman, you have gone through an exponential period of growth from that time that you last viewed or smelled or experienced, whatever that experience was. And so your internal biases, your thoughts, your memories, or lack thereof may be impacting how you feel about something, and fragrances is no exception. Now, fragrance is kind of an exception insofar as our memories, it sparks memories that are fairly accurate of what we were doing at the time when we smell a fragrance. Now in Tommy, I do like how the mint and the apple work together, and then that nice mix of floral, but then the citrus and the cactus give it a bright yet somewhat powdery nimbus. It's kind of a halo that surrounds the brighter accords and creates that projection, that effervescent quality of Tommy. It is a bit average to below average in the longevity arena. I get about 5 to 6 hours, and that is in the spring and summer. I have worn it in wintertime, and after the first hour, that open and that mid and the base, there's really nothing there. It becomes a skin scent after about 45 minutes to an hour in cold weather. It completely dissipates. So this is definitely specifically a warm weather fragrance, a daytime fragrance, a casual fragrance. I'm going to say something that's going to sound somewhat cheesy, but one of the reasons, and really the primary reason that I like Tommy, is when I spray it on, it just makes me feel good. It makes me smile. It makes me think of the past a little bit. It makes me feel more social, like I want to hang out with friends or family, be casual, chill at home, batten down the hatches and just chill, with family at home, or go out somewhere. And of course, considering our current circumstances here in the US and abroad, battening down the hatches is a lot more safe, but still yet good times, good thoughts. It's a good time and a good feeling, vibing fragrance. And that's primarily what I like about Tommy, is how evocative it is of a bygone, somewhat halcyon era, and having good times and good memories. Now, what about Tommy Hilfiger Into the Surf? Into the Surf was launched in 2019, and it was said to be inspired by vacations, summertime, the beach, and surfing. So as you can see, the blue and the white stripe that are going across the lid, that actually makes me think of a barbershop. The opening, honestly, just the long and short of it is, the opening is the best thing about Into the Surf. But after the opening, the waves crash on it and it just gets sucked into the undertow, and there's really nothing there. That is how I feel about Into the Surf. Let's break down some of the notes and maybe find out why. In the top, you've got cardamom, you've got orange, bitter orange, and ginger. In the mid, you've got clary sage, violet leaf, and white pepper. In the base, you've got ebony wood, you've got vetiver, and patchouli. Now, ebony wood, the heart of the wood, is black and it's very dense, and it can be polished to like a high polish, which makes it very valuable for like ornamental items or furniture and things like that. But the aroma of ebony wood is very like spicy and woody. So like pink pepper is an accord used for ebony wood. Now, with the amount of fresh spices, pepper, and floral notes in this, the expectation is that you're going to have a really bright, fresh, zesty, likely aquatic. This is a blue fragrance, so an aquatic, watery, marine notes. But there's not a lot of marine or aquatic going on in this. Instead, we have an opening it promises a bright, fresh, zesty, citrusy, semi-aquatic fragrance that's going to carry on and just keep building as it goes, but instead it denigrates as it goes on. It dies down. In fact, very much like a wave that crests, this crest after about 15 minutes, and then the next 15 minutes it just crashes and comes down. In the mid, there is something that is it's almost animalic, and I don't want to say it's fecal, but it is extremely close to being fecal. That when it dries down into the mid, the violet leaf becomes really apparent, but there's something like, I don't like about the mid. It's very off-putting, at least for me. The mid is the worst part of this fragrance, but thankfully it doesn't last long. It dries off very quickly, and then in the base there's literally nothing. It becomes a skin scent after about 30-45 minutes at the most, maximum, which is unusual for an opening that is this pleasant. So really like the opening of Into the Surf, but it should be called Into the Turf, because it's just ground into the ground after about 30-45 minutes. There's really nothing there, and unfortunately this then is a skin scent after about an hour at the most, maximum. So there's not a lot to recommend purchasing Into the Surf. You might want to try a sample, see how it does on your skin. Maybe it's just my skin. Maybe that's just me and my chemical composition that's causing that to happen. Somehow I doubt it. I don't see this going a long way. There's not a ton of people talking about this. In fact, really no one is talking about this. And on the Fragrantica.com, only 21 people took the time to actually vote for this fragrance. So there isn't a lot to recommend it. In a battle between Tommy the OG and Tommy Hilfiger Into the Surf, this is going to win every single time. And not just because it is evocative of a bygone era that we have great memories about, the 90s. It is because it is a higher quality fragrance. This is still, by today's standards, a nice, somewhat retro, very fresh, very clean, casual daytime fragrance for spring and summer. Highly recommend Tommy Hilfiger's Tommy for men. There'll always be a place in my fragrance rotation and on my shelf for a casual fragrance that is also retro. It just makes you feel good to wear it and gives you harkens memory of good times and good friends and growing up. So hopefully you'll make room on your shelf as well for fragrances such as this, which even though they're super inexpensive by today's standards, they're not considered modernized, it's still something nice and clean and fresh to wear right out of the shower, and that's usually when I throw on Tommy. Alright guys, that'll be it for my review and comparison of Tommy Hilfiger Into the Surf and the OG Tommy for Men. I appreciate you stopping by. As always, thank you so much for your support. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.